All right. Welcome back to 4thGen. I've had this damn thing in my throat. I just can't seem to shake it. It's the weirdest thing.
I've been sick for like 3 weeks.
It's like, I don't know what's going on.
Flu season or cold season or whatever.
Our little one got sick, and then she's kind of finally shaking it, but we had to get her like a puffer.
Oh,
There was like an irritation in the lungs. So we had to get her something like that, but she seems to be okay now. I'm gonna keep using it until it's done, but she seems like she's on the mend. Got a lot of conflicting but recommendations on flu shots.
Oh man, we don't have that's a whole thing.
Yeah, like talking to the doctor and then talking to because now like at like Save on Foods and stuff they can give you at the
pharmacy.
And conflicting information.
Yep. You know what? I don't like talking about anything if I haven't done my research.
Right. And I haven't done my research either. And it was more about just like as a parent.
What do you do, right? Yeah.
Well, yeah, because it was just like, well, they were like, no, give it to her now. And it's like, okay, well, she's 5. And then the doctor's like, well, no, like wait till she's 9. But I'm like, well, the flu shot's the flu shot. Like, what is it? So we didn't know really what to believe.
Well,
I should be believing my doctor.
Well, yes and no, I guess. I don't know. Like, I've never gotten a flu shot my whole life.
Right.
And
I don't think I have either.
You know, because it wasn't a thing back then.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't know. It's a whole, it's a conspiracy. Or the people that are like, you're more likely to get the flu. Then there's other people. It's chaos. It's chaos.
And it's, there's so many people with like the whole, like the parents that are like, there is the conspiracy. Or then there's the people that's like, well, no, the reason everyone's getting sicker is because no one's getting vaccinated and
vaccinate. See, okay, I'm
down the rabbit hole.
Here we go. We just started. I'm of the mind that the vaccinations make sense, and the reason why is because there's empirical evidence that they work. So we got rid of polio. We got rid of the measles. Like, how does that happen? Well, it's the vaccinations.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then when crazy people stop vaccinating their children, what happens? Oh, you have a measles outbreak at school, right? So it's like the only thing that I think is a little bit of a more gray is the flu shot.
Right.
Because I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if it works, if it doesn't work.
I'm scared into getting the flu shot because there's like all these other things that can happen if you don't get the flu shot.
Well, as you get older.
It's kind of like an AIDS thing, right? Where it's like you don't die from AIDS, you die from the disease that you get from a compromised immune system because of AIDS.
Yeah.
So it's like it's kind of the flu shot kind of thing where it's like,
well, if you're 80 years old, it can turn into pneumonia or it can turn into whatever.
Yeah,
but they don't even, I don't know. I don't know.
And you always hear these like bizarre, well, like not bizarre, but like these crazy stories where it's like all of a sudden like someone loses their voice for life. Like they'll get the flu or they'll get like pneumonia or something like that, and then like something weird happens in that sickness point, or like they develop asthma all of a sudden, just I don't know where they develop asthma, or just little things or weird things that you hear randomly in news. Where you're like, but then, and we've talked about this with some guests on our other show with Alberta Impact. It's like then the media. We talked about this actually not even like 20 minutes ago. Then the media just blows it up into this like whole thing that's like, no.
Well, because it's good news.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's good news. Yeah,
clickbait.
It sells. So
it sells.
It's so ridiculous. So.
I don't know. I don't know about the flu shot. I've never got one.
Yeah,
I'm never going to get one.
Yeah,
and that's it.
I always seem to power through it. So I'm not saying that.
On the other hand, do I get sick usually once a year? Usually around flu season? Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. But there's something to say about a good, strong immune system.
To me, I've got this weird sci-fi movie vibe that like if everybody gets the flu shot, then we're just helping the flu kind of like have to mutate and get better.
Right.
And then eventually we run into like an epidemic flu superbug situation that starts taking people out. And
and they talk about that with everything. Like, I mean, even with the pesticides and stuff like that. Great. I put a piece of ice in my mouth and now.
Why? Why would you do
I'm an idiot. But they talk about like when people spray, these weeds are actually becoming more immune.
Of course, because
to
you're
the
like munching,
sprays
they're
over-
munching on the like spray, and
Yeah.
then all of a sudden
And
the
they
next
adapt.
generation gets adapted to it.
Exactly, right? And then that adaptation turns into this. Sorry, I had to get rid of that ice. All right, that adaptation turns into this whole another mutated strain, and then you got to come up with a more powerful pesticide. But then it's like, how powerful can you get before it starts like causing a problem with the us as humans? But anyway, yeah. So that's the most serious thing we're going to talk about today. Disney Plus dropped Tuesday.
So good.
I haven't checked it out yet. We're gonna try our free week trial here probably this week. We're gonna start this weekend. We wanted a time because this is the problem is if we're gonna get it, we're gonna go through it.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna binge watch for like.
Oh, I'm already I'm season 2, episode 4 of Star Wars Rebels.
Oh, jeez.
The show. Like, I already watched a season and 2 episodes. Like, I can't stop.
So I'm like, we gotta wait till the weekend before we get this, because otherwise nothing's gonna get done.
Yeah.
So
watched Mandalorian like 3 times.
And so there's like, is the Mandalorian? Is it a full season, or is it just one episode?
Well, they're doing an episode a week, I think.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah. So they've filmed everything. They're just
it's all done, but they're just releasing it like as they go.
Out, right.
Otherwise, that would have been done already. I would have binge watched that because it was like.
Well, I know like the if we're gonna go into Star Wars here, let's look at some Star Wars here. If they're gonna go, or sorry, what I was saying was the previews look amazing.
Yeah.
I just love. I mean, I think we all know this. There's been such a wicked vibe around Boba Fett for so long, and the whole bounty hunting, universe that's kind of been touched on and explored on in the Star Wars. But this is kind of like the actual.
Oh, they get so like
it
is. Right? It's like, and it's so many deep cuts and so many Easter eggs sprinkled, and it's only the first episode's 45 minutes, right?
Yeah.
And it's like just peppered, like I'm talking peppered with just so many cool, like it's just, it almost makes, I'm so happy, but it also makes me so mad that the last couple movies sucked so badly.
Right.
Because it showed that what it could have been.
It could be.
What it could have been, and what Star Wars is actually like. It's not complicated. It's not. It's not fucking rocket science,
right?
To make a Star Wars movie that's fun,
right?
It's not,
yeah.
And they somehow made it like this impossible puzzle to crack,
yeah.
And it's like so easy, and it's what we're looking for as fans is so. And my girlfriend, like she likes Star Wars, but she doesn't have a problem like I have,
yeah.
And she watched that show and. The deep cuts were there for me.
Yeah.
But she didn't need the background to like enjoy the show at all.
Right.
And that's like
that's a good movie.
And it is. And that's a good show, right? And that's what the movies couldn't do. They were so obsessed with like making it for the new generation, whatever the hell they were trying to do.
Right.
That they like screwed it up so badly. When really in 40 minutes, well, even the Star Wars Rebel show, even the CG show.
Yeah.
What like that? Those stories are so much better than the movies.
I think so. Like the animations, like even the animations. Me and my we've watched a couple with my daughter. I think they're wicked.
Yeah.
But there's a thing to be said about I think when Disney took over Marvel, and I mean what Disney did with Marvel and the whole that was my bad. What Disney did with Marvel and the whole storytelling. The one great thing is they had a fantastic group of storytellers that stuck with the program from beginning to end.
Right.
Whereas with Star Wars, I think we've got like a multitude of different storytellers trying to adapt what they saw in the past with their vision of the future, but then they get axed and then someone else comes in and has to play off of what that person was trying to set up in their storyline and adapt it into their own vision of the future for it. And it's just become disastrous.
Well, yeah, because what happens is you have and I'll say this a million times. I don't care what the consequences are, but J.J. Abrams sucks. Like he sucks. He killed like his Star Trek movies were garbage.
Yeah.
He can't write. He's got the same falls back on the same writing tropes all the time.
Right.
He's obsessed with like time travel, the MacGuffin, like some magic. We got to find the this special cup that has a secret or whatever. Like he just can't write himself out of a paper bag. And And so he started off wrong.
Yeah.
Like he started off in the wrong way. Kathleen Kennedy from like head of Lucasfilm had all these like ulterior motives, trying to like wanted to make a political statement, wanted to make some kind of like change, which is stupid. As soon as you try to do any of that with any movie, like as soon as it's not entertainment, you're already in trouble. And then, she brings in J.J. Abrams. He sucks. He writes a piece of crap. And then, of course, and then I don't know what Ryan Johnson was trying to do, like with Last Jedi. It's like, it was basically it was just a terrible film. And
the only thing about The Last Jedi that I loved was just the imagery was awesome.
Well, yeah,
it was,
100%.
it's like they came up with, and like there's a thing like this in Hollywood where they talk about where people come up with these visions.
The shots first. Yes.
And then they try and make a story around the shots, which can turn into absolutely garbage because there's no story.
The two perfect examples in that movie are the bomb, like the rebel bombers, right?
Yeah.
So it's like Ryan Johnson was obsessed with World War II, like B-17 bombers, right?
Yeah.
That would they be flying over Germany, and then the German fighters would just be buzzing on them, and he was like obsessed with that look.
Yeah.
So, but did he, but do you say to yourself, okay, well, let's see, have we ever seen a bomber like this? Like the rebel, you know what I mean? Like what happened to the B wings and the Y wings? Like those were bombers, right? Fast.
Yeah.
Because you have to be fast. And no, they had these stupid, goofy things that are just like, blah, 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 blah. They're just like plodding along. And then they're like,
this is the future, right?
This is the future. And then they're going
to learn nothing from the World Wars.
You know what I mean? And then it's like, and then just not even thinking about, well, proton torpedoes, like in the X-wings, like the weaponry.
Proton or photon?
No, photon Star Trek.
Star Trek, right?
Yeah.
My bad.
But you're not even watching. Like, did you even watch anything from Star Wars before? Because you're working in that framework, right? But he just didn't care.
Right.
So he's just like, no, this is the visual, like you said, this is the visual I want. I want the big plodding bombers, and then this and that, and then plus we can set up that stupid scene where they're trying to like, and also like in the future, why would you have like a remote with a red button to like to shoot, to drop the bomb? And you can't drop bombs in space.
That's a good point.
Like just stuff like that. Like it's just like there's no way that somebody would be like, well, let's just take a bomber and fly it above the Star Destroyer and just and drop bombs onto the Star. It's just stupid. Even just, but he didn't care. He just like, I want that visual. And then number two, the classic, is the light speed, the hyperspace jump, where it like and like shit cracks and shit.
Well,
like, the visual was unreal.
Crashes it into the
when she light speeds into the Star Destroyer. Right.
Yeah. Which was pretty cool.
Yeah, the visual
was phenomenal.
Unreal.
And I think like with that movie too, what's the young girl's name? The Asian girl.
Rose.
Is it Rose?
Rose Tycho?
Or
Tico, whatever.
Because she was part of the bomber. Oh boy, it's a long time.
No, her sister was part of the bomber force.
Right. And I feel like that was kind of like in the storytelling portion of it. I think they did okay with trying to develop character development, I guess.
Yeah.
Would you agree? No, crap.
I
have to go watch that movie again.
You probably should.
Because I only watched it once.
I watched it once in the theater, which is for a Star Wars movie, I usually go at least twice, which is like, so that was, I'm like, I just walked out. I remember I walked out with my brother-in-law and we like walked out together and we stood there and we looked at each other. And then we were both playing a game of like,
who's going to say it first?
Critique chicken. Cause like, we didn't want to, you know what I mean? I'm like, and then literally almost in the same time, he just said, he's like, well, that sucked. And I looked at him like, it was pretty fucking bad.
That's the worst. God, I've had a couple movies like that too, where I've just walked out, just like, oh man.
So then, and then of course you let it stew.
Yeah.
You watch, and you're like, okay. And then so when it came out for download, I like watch. I'm like, okay, let's really give this another chance, right?
Yeah.
Then I like watched it again, and I'm just like, no. I'm like, if anything, it was worse because now it's like I got the basic structure, and now I can like really start watching, and it was just man. But then you know what I mean. But then you look at like. Star Wars Rebels did a better Lando Calrissian like cameo than this garbage movie is gonna have, and then like Mandalorian, like in 40 minutes they bang out more Star Wars,
right?
And that's why I loved Rogue One.
Mm-hmm.
Was so good. We lost that light. That's okay.
Damn that.
You put more ice in your mouth.
Anyway.
It's just terrible.
Should never eat ice. I'm horrible. I'm an ice chewer. Anyway, the Mandalorian, I think that is going to be super wicked in the sense of, they're going to set up this whole new universe.
Well, no, not a new universe.
Not universe, but a whole different perspective of the existing universe that I think they can build on. And if they can tie stuff together into, it might be too late though. Like even with the movie, Star Wars, that one coming up here in December. Rise of Skywalker. I think it's kind of probably too late for that.
Well,
unless they've planned it with Mandalorian and they have like some tie-ins.
Did you hear that they don't even have an ending yet?
What?
The movie's not finished.
Are they sticking with the release date?
Yep.
Oh shit.
But they don't have an ending. Apparently, the test we're a couple weeks behind the story, but the test audience it just bombed, I guess.
Really?
Like bombed, like hard. So they got like a 4% approval rating in the third act.
See, this is the one thing.
So
being someone who's really into the process of making movies, this is something I've never understood. Wrong hole.
We're not doing that.
We're not doing this.
We're not fucking doing this again. It was my own fault. I should have had it out of a can.
Yeah, I'm in the
Stupid idiot.
Somebody wanted to be fancy.
Yeah, well, I like the ice cold.
Yeah,
the ice cold.
I hear you.
Pepsi.
Yeah.
But as somebody who's made films.
Yeah, so it's really weird to me when you're this close to a release date and you hear something like that, even if you are like 4 or 5 weeks behind, or even like to me, I want my production on something like that wrapped and happy like 6 months before release date,
exactly.
right?
Yeah.
And I understand like the speed because you're trying to like meet demand and stuff, but I guess it just shows how disconnected these producers and directors are.
That's right.
With the source material.
Yeah.
Is if you're putting out a movie that bombs so hard with audiences on a series, on a culture that's been going for as long as Star Wars has been going, and you bomb so hard, that means how the fuck do you not understand your audience?
Yeah, like that badly,
when you've had that audience for this many years.
Yeah.
Like Jar Jar Binks, like all these little things that they did, it's just like how did you fuck that up? Even like how they filmed the first three
the
movies, the prequel.
Yeah.
I would have grittied up the shit out of that film to at least make it realistically match to the final three, right?
But
quote unquote.
But at least first of all, once you watch the new movies, and you watch the prequel trilogy, it looks like fucking Macbeth. It looks like Hamlet. Like it looks unreal. Like the story is unreal.
Yeah.
Like actually, like when you think about it. But the filmmaking, at least it was a consistent vision across all three movies, because Lucas did all three, right?
Yeah.
So like, it maybe didn't see. It felt like Star Wars, but it just didn't feel like Star Wars from when we watched it originally.
Right.
And because he wanted to make it sort of like that new the old Republic, things would still be crisp and clean, and like because it was happened a lot in the core worlds in Coruscant, and so that would be like the most developed part. Whereas episode 4, 5, and 6 were basically happened on the Outer Rim, right, which was way lawless, and it was after with the Empire and blah blah. So like it at least kind of makes kind of sense, and like the first 3 episodes were more political, so it had like the Senate, and so they would all be hoity-toity. It was all in the clouds, the sky, the skyscrapers. Like I don't know, it just you cannot agree with it, but you can like you can justify, you can understand why he did it that way.
Gotcha.
Whereas like with the latest 3, they're just bad films.
Yeah.
Like they're just not made well.
Fair enough.
Like not written well.
Right.
So it's kind of like, I think it's a different problem.
Right.
And you're right. I do not know how you like
You just be so
You
far away.
just so far away and so
Like
disconnected with
the
what they want.
director and producers of these movies are in a galaxy far, far
Yeah,
away,
yeah,
and that
a long
galaxy
time
is
ago.
far, far, far
Yeah.
away from Star Wars.
It's just like, where it's like Jon Favreau did The Mandalorian,
Yep.
and it's like he's got it on the pulse. He's like, oh, you know what they'll like? They'll like this. They'll like that. They'll like that. And he's just like putting it in, and it like he just kills it. Like, I mean, he killed it with Iron Man.
Isn't it so easy if you just go back and you just like, because of our digital age, you go back and you just look at like, okay, what's been the reaction on this movie? What were the top best reactions on this movie? Right. Okay, we're gonna take those top 5, top 6 best reactions to this movie, and we're gonna adapt it to fit in this.
Yeah.
And we'll make it more
like what do people
we'll make
like?
it relevant.
Like
right?
what do people like?
Yeah,
It's
and you've got
hard.
like 9 for 8 movies that you can pull from now that you can say, all right, we basically, the blueprint is there.
Yeah.
We just need to,
fill it in,
follow the directions and build the narrative around those,
totally.
concepts. And they just keep seeming to be missing the ball. And it's kind of the same, like, well, I don't know. I like where Star Trek went. Like,
really?
I do. I like where, like, I liked Chris Pine. I liked when they did Genghis Khan and, or not Genghis Khan. Jesus. When they did
Khan Singh,
Noonien
Singh,
when they did him, I love the like how they did it. I liked how Abrams filmed it, like with the flares and stuff like that. Like I like that direction and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I think they did really good character development throughout all of those. Like I think like they did decent on it. I wasn't sure. I mean, the same as always with time travel. When they brought old Spock in, I was kind of like, that's kind of weird. But I liked that it wasn't like wasn't a reboot.
But it kind of was because the timeline permanently changed.
I guess if you look at it from that sense,
so, from the perspective of what...
I didn't build a Star Trek graphic. I'm sorry.
That's, I find it personally insulting.
Okay.
The thing with Star Trek is that with the new movies, they were more successful than the Star Wars movies in the sense that I think people who weren't super into Star Trek found something that they could watch.
Something new
in the new Star Treks. So that I understand.
Gotcha.
As a serious Star Trek fan, I'm a bigger Star Trek fan than even Star Wars.
No.
It was like the first movie was like meh. Second, third, they were bored. They were basically unwatchable for me. Like it was just too far.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was just too far, too much. And again, like I don't know.
Yeah.
And I just like good stories.
Right. That's
the problem. Like to me, it's like if you don't have a good story, don't even bother with anything else. Like,
well, and that's, I mean, that's a really good point. Like, I think that the graphics are cool, but the story really has to hold.
Like if you look at, it's funny because if you look at the old Star Wars, like you look at 4, 5, and 6, there was there were space battles and there was laser blasts and stuff. But like, if you really look, there's not a whole lot of like crazy visuals or crazy special effects, right? Because they were limited by the time. So it just, you have to have something like, you know what I mean? Like you should be able to just sit here and read the script and it should be good.
Yeah.
With nothing.
Like you can build it in your head.
Yeah.
It's so well told.
That's kind of like how I think it should be, but you're absolutely right. I literally think they're doing it backwards where they start filming. It's just like with the shot in the trailers for the new Star Wars of Rey, and then Kylo Ren's TIE fighter is like coming right at her.
Yeah.
And she like turns around.
Starts running away.
And starts kind of like and she, in her head, she's like, I'm going to do this flip thing backwards. But it's like, you can just, obviously they were like, oh, that would be cool.
Yeah.
And then they tried to figure out how they can like cram that. Let's create a situation where this happens, right? It's no. It's all backwards.
It's definitely backwards. I wonder, like, if the overall, like, if a full reboot would ever happen, like if it
or they just say fuck it, those three never happened.
Never happened.
Oh my god, wouldn't that'd be magical?
I mean, especially if you've got someone like Disney behind the helm, and they pick like a great writer, great storyteller, and they kind of like just kind of, and I mean, they could technically kind of sort of do that with Mandalorian, where they can kind of start with where they are now and then build in, like, because I haven't seen it, but I'm assuming that there's a lot of references, like you said, there was peppered in with a lot of Star Wars.
Yeah, well, because it takes place after Episode 6,
right?
So it takes place after Return of the Jedi, but before Force Awakens. So it takes place like when the Empire's collapsing.
Because I screwed up. I saw a video on YouTube about the Mandalorian, and I accidentally clicked on it. Clicked on it, and I'm like, shit, I shouldn't, because I'll probably want to watch this.
Yeah.
But then there's some spoilers that got put out there where they reveal a race that
spoiler alert.
Where they fuck it, whatever.
If you didn't watch it by now,
yeah,
you don't care about it.
Yeah,
so.
We'll put a spoiler alert on the beginning of this video. The Yoda.
Oh.
So they had like the baby, but it's like, is it really Yoda? Obviously not.
Well, it could be all kinds. See, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Now
okay,
you
let's
like
get into
want to know what's up, because now it's like, you don't have to explain everything right away.
Right.
Like you don't have to like, so, and I mean, again, going back to Alexandra, like, when she was watching it, she, as soon as she saw like the little ears and like the little, she lost it, and she doesn't even, you know what I mean? She's like, oh my God. Like, and she just already in her head, she'd put together, oh, that's Yoda's species.
Right.
And it's just so cool that it's like, okay, so 50 years old.
Yeah.
It's still a baby. But if you go back 50 years, that puts it right around the Clone Wars.
Right.
Like right around Episode 3.
Right.
1, 2, and 3. So what is it? Is it just there's very few of that race born?
Yeah.
Are they extinct? And this is like the last one? Is it a clone of Yoda?
Well, and then like
what is it?
Like, why is the bounty out on this thing?
Well, and and then you start putting together, okay, like, so the Mandalorian was hired by the Imperial remnants. Is it the Empire trying to say like, okay, that species is just like so in touch with the Force that like we just want to make sure that this guy never grows up,
right?
Kind of thing,
right?
Or is there another motive behind it? Who knows, right? But we will find out, because Jon Favreau can actually tell a fucking story.
Exactly.
So like that's the beauty of it. We will find out.
Yeah,
it'll happen. They're not just gonna like chop its head off like next episode and then like it never happened. Call it a day because they wrote themselves into a corner.
Yeah.
So but I mean, stuff like that.
Yeah, it's going to be a real staple.
Yeah.
And I love again going back to the Marvel stuff, when Spider-Man Far From Home came out, and they tied like all the stuff back from like the program with Barf and all that sort of jazz.
Yeah, like they can go back to like
now like if you've got Favreau in there and he starts going like, okay, well, let's go and look at
well, even just IG-88, like if this was IG-11, but even like the bounty hunting droid,
right?
Like,
oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
he was like that guy. That droid was basically from The Empire Strikes Back, and it was just standing on, like, all those bounty hunters were just standing on the bridge of Darth Vader's Star Destroyer,
and knew nothing about
knew nothing. And he's like, man, you know what? Bloop, let's grab it. And let's just like, and now you actually get to see how dangerous they are and watch them like twirling around, blasting away at everything.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's, even the little thing of like, oh, the low hanging fruit would have been, well, let's make him IG-88. But no, now it's IG-11. So, is there like a line of these like bounty hunting droids?
And what are they?
What are they?
Can they learn?
Yeah. Also, so the next time he runs into an IG droid, is it going to remember that what happened?
Yeah.
But it's all these, and it just creates a richer.
Yeah.
Even the little things like, I mean, so you haven't watched it yet, but I mean, there's a little scene where he gets paid, right?
Yeah.
And all he says is like, those are Imperial credits. Like, I don't know. And then the guy goes, yeah, but there's still money.
Right.
And he says, well, do you not know what happened lately? Kind of like and it's just this little, this
an Easter egg,
a little Easter egg,
a little tidbit that's like, hey, this
that it's like, it doesn't need to be, it's not important to the story, but it richens, the world. Like when this guy sits in his ship and the guy looks around and says, oh, this is a classic Razor Crest, right? Like,
cool.
And just kind of names the ship, like in terms of like, and then if you're a dork, you're like, yeah, like that's Mandalorian Razor Crest. Like, just,
that's pretty wicked.
You know what I mean? But and that's only stuff that, like you said, Marvel did it because they basically let the I've said it a million times, but they let the they let the crazies run the asylum.
Yeah. Well, and then they're looking like way into the future. They're like, okay, like how can we write something today that in 10 years after 20 movies is going to be relevant and go back and like we need to make an aha moment. Like there's like when they're writing the movies like they write TV series.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Which is like
serialized. Like
brilliant because you're just taking a 45-minute show, taking it to 2 hours, telling a shit ton of content.
Yeah.
But then we're going to stretch that story over 10 years with 20 movies. So really, like they're just making TV shows.
Yeah.
But in a movie
they're
format
like making episodes
over
of
a long
show.
period of time. So instead of weekly, we're going to release this bi-yearly or whatever. And then it's just a TV show. We're just going to tell more information, which is... Yeah, like I mean, you look at movies like we love Blacklist with Spader.
Spader. Yeah.
And I mean, sometimes they get lost. Sometimes they tell their own story within an episode, and then they'll jump. Yeah. But you can watch season 1, episode 1. Well, it's just season 1, and then we're on going into episode. I think it's 7 now, 7 or 8, and you start watching and they'll still have tiebacks to like this and that and this. And then, but the other thing too is understanding when a character's done. Like there is at a certain point where it's like, okay, that character's done.
We can get rid of him.
Get rid of him.
Yeah.
But if they've done their job right, they've built the character's identity up so well and the attachment to the audience that when they get rid of that character, it hurts.
It's a moment. Yeah.
It's a moment.
Yeah.
And it stands out.
Yeah.
And then that, gives birth to another character, or they start peppering in another character as they start making this one leave.
Right.
And then we've been replaced, but you're still like, damn, like that chick was awesome. Like, it's too bad, right? Or like, I can't believe, or then you see like when the main character kills off like their right-hand man because like they were just trying to do the morally right thing. It's when they start doing stuff like that in storytelling, it's wicked. Yeah. Like that's super powerful.
Well, it is. And and even we're watching Breaking Bad. I'm watching it for the first time.
Okay.
Like, so it fell through the cracks, whatever. Yeah. I'll take the heat on that.
I have only watched like episodes here and there.
Yeah.
I've never. But I've heard phenomenal things.
Yeah. And it's
story-wise.
That's what it is. And it's like, I find myself like, it's a secondary character.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, but I put it together in my head. I'm like, oh my God, is he going to die?
Yeah.
Are they going to kill him? Oh my God, what's going to happen? And then I'm like, I'm tense for that episode, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, so I've never heard of this show before. Like I heard of it, sorry, but I've never watched it before. Yeah. Watching it for the first time. And somehow, how did I care more that this secondary character was in danger than I did that like Han Solo got lightsabered? You know what I mean? Like how did they do that? Like how did you make it so that like I'm watching Han Solo after my whole like watching him my whole life.
Your Star Wars life.
And he gets killed and I don't even it doesn't even do anything for me.
But that was something that
or Superman. You kill Superman and it doesn't do anything.
Yeah, well, that's another DC problem. But going back to the Star Wars stuff, and we'll move on to another topic here in a second. When they killed Han Solo, I remember years ago, prior to this, that Harrison Ford was like, I have no interest in doing another Star Wars movie because there's no character development.
Right.
Like, he's like, my character is nothing. So I really, when they killed him, and like, I felt the same way. I was like, oh, wow, like, they killed him.
Yeah, okay.
That's wild. And I think Harrison probably walked in, read the script and was like, oh, I die in this one? I don't have to come back and do another one? Fantastic.
Yeah. Or he could have been like, I'm only going to do it if I die.
Yeah. Like, there's nothing here for me. Let's get this done.
Well, and I heard that too. I mean, you can go back and check out Luke's, Mark Hamill's interviews, but he was in a very subtle way trying to basically tell everybody, look, like they screwed this up. Like they screwed my character up. Like I'm not impressed with what they did and everything. And it's just like, and it sucks in a way because, and I think the biggest thing that made people angry was that like, they realized like, you don't get another shot.
Yeah.
Like you really don't, like Disney's not going to spend $300 million a movie. Like, so let's say 900, they're not going to spend $1 billion to redo it again, like all three. You know what I mean? And now Carrie Fisher's dead. like there's no, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's it. Like there's just no chance of it
coming back. Yeah.
And so
Well, that's why, like I'm saying, like I think that a potential complete reboot, just start Star Wars all over.
yeah.
Like, I mean, or build a different Star Wars where like Luke and Han and all
Well,
that
I think what
doesn't
they
exist
should
anymore, or it did, but it was in a time long ago.
I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah,
right?
and don't tie anything back to it. And
Yeah.
then what you could do is, as you're telling this new story, you pepper in, oh, well, there was once this guy named Luke,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
like something like that, and just pepper that in just to kind of like still, pinch the nerve of the dead fans
Yeah.
so that they're still attached to like, yeah, like this is still Star
Yeah.
Wars. It's just not like that Star Wars has,
Right.
it's like we're thousands of years in the future, or hundreds of years in the future,
or
or
hundreds
something
of years
like that,
before,
right?
or something, yeah.
Before,
Like
or something like
do
that.
something
right?
with like the Knights of the Old Republic. Do something with.
I think they should never go back in time. And the only reason being is because, again, like quality wise, if they, I feel, and this is just maybe it's just because I'm a linear thinker sometimes with my brain, but if like when they did the first three movies after they did the last set of three, like this, it just threw me off because I'm like, well, it's weird when this looks better than that,
But-
when really that should have been the start and we should have just kept building on that story. Prequels are stupid, I think, if you shoot it after the fact of like it just doesn't make any sense.
And that's like even what's happened with both like the last two Star Trek TV shows had that problem.
Yeah.
Because you can't go back.
No.
Especially with when the show is a sci-fi show where the ships are characters.
Yeah.
There's no way, like, how do you, like, that's right. Like, how do you, like...
If the ship that's previous to
looks
the original
better,
Star Trek looks better, operates better, is faster than the that doesn't make sense.
And then
you just can't tell a story that way.
And that was the old, like, I remember when Star Trek Enterprise came out in the early 2000s, like the new, they were like, oh, it's going to be kind of like before the Federation even existed. It's going to be the first, humans are just getting out into space.
Yeah.
It's like, well, then shoot it like that.
Yeah.
Like shoot it where if there's a
Things
hole,
are breaking
if there's
down
a hole in
and
the
shit's
ship,
not working,
yeah, or
right?
like we don't have a transporter.
Yeah.
We don't have phasers.
Yeah.
Like we have guns or laser pistols or something where it's like if we shoot somebody,
there's blood.
They're dead.
Yeah, exactly. There's
Like,
there's no stun feature.
Yeah.
Here.
So like have no stun, have no no transporters, have no shield. So if our ship takes a hit, there's a problem. There's a problem. Stuff's getting blown off and it adds like a drama to like simple things, like where it's like, and make it so the ship can't do warp 9. It can only do warp 1. So it takes us like 3 months to get somewhere or something. It adds like, and then you write it that way, but they didn't.
That would actually be really cool, because if they did try and reboot Star Trek, but tell it from the day or from like the year that warp engines became reality for it.
That's what it was supposed to be.
They try to do that with Star Trek
Enterprise,
yeah.
But again, like that's exactly. But what did they do? We've got shields, we've got phasers, we've got transporters. Yeah. So it was just.
They woke up one morning and had all this tech. All of a sudden.
Kind of in a way, like, and then Star Trek Discovery is just a pile of crap.
Right.
So and the same problem too. It's like, well, how can it? Why does your bridge look? And same with the Star Trek movies. It's like, why does your bridge look like an iPhone?
Yeah. Yeah, they got like glossy digital touch
everything,
screens.
And it's like nobody would build a ship like that. It would cost like, why would you? These are nice marble floors.
Yeah.
Oh, these are nice. It's like you wouldn't build a ship like you build a house.
Yeah.
Like
you're building for use, not for comfort.
Yeah.
There's no like dials or like giant like toggle switches like in the old ones, right?
Yeah.
So and that's what I loved about Next Generation was when they did Star Trek and then they did Next Generation. It was linear.
Yeah.
It tied together. You went from like this and then like and there was room. I mean, I understand why it didn't happen, but there would have been room to tell stories in between of how we went from the old school Star Trek ships to, the next generation ships and stuff like that. They did a couple
in the movies, like in
movies.
the Star Trek 5, 6, whatever. They did where you started to see, you did. You started to see that like progression where it's like the Enterprise gets refit, then the Excelsior class, which is still being used in Next Generation, and then the Enterprise C, like they did that one episode, the Yesterday's Enterprise, where the Enterprise C comes through the time rift.
Yeah, yeah.
And you can see, wait, if I put Enterprise A, B, C, and D like in a line, and then E, and like it's a progression.
There's a progression.
There's a very nice
growth,
progression and a growth.
But the other thing with the story and the characters, you could bring Kirk when they did
Generations.
Generations.
Yeah.
When they brought Kirk and he's like, I was saving galaxies when you were still in diapers. Like, you could stand up, like a true fan would stand up in the theater and applaud, right? Because it's just like,
when they were there,
you did it right. Like,
oh man, like,
beautiful.
I'm just nerding out, but like, when they're both riding horses,
yes,
and then and he kind of says, and he's like, I take it the odds are against us and the situation looks grim, and then Picard in a stoic. And the only way Picard can do it says like you could say that, and then Kirk just smiles like, well, it sounds like fun.
Yeah,
like it's like that's
so good.
That's like,
oh, I'm gonna go geek out. I'm gonna watch all these now
it's
again.
like cool. Like
yes.
but you can only do that in a rich universe once you've created it. Yeah. You can't make those moments from nothing.
Well, what's crazy? You can't make those moments from nothing. You have to tell them in a certain way, but you can fuck up the right way to do it by going back, trying to put something in there that doesn't fit right.
Right.
And that's like when they do stuff that just fucking leave it, build on it, move forward, stop going backwards, let's move forward and make it better, as opposed to going back and potentially wrecking something that is already great.
Well, especially with Star Trek and Star Wars, where it's like, the fans are like combing through the scripts, analyzing every frame, like they're doing that. So if you just do something that's going to screw something else up, you have to be aware that that's what's going to, and going back to that visual with, in Last Jedi with the light speed ramming, right? It's like, well, if that totally fucks up the entire universe, because then why would you build a Death Star?
Yeah.
Like why would we build a Death Star when one ship can come and ram through, and then and the rebels being so desperate, like with Rogue One, the beauty of that movie, part of it was the desperation.
Right.
Was like how they're on the brink.
Killed people.
They had,
they just got rid of people.
They assassinated people, bombed people because they're terrorists. Like they're rebels. They're trying to they have to do what they have to do.
Yeah.
And that feeling of
the stakes were high.
The stakes are so high, and that feeling of we have to attack this one Imperial base.
Right.
And it's literally going to take our entire we have to muster everybody we have, and we're risking it all. Like if they wipe us out, the rebellion's over.
Yeah.
But we have to risk it all, because if we don't, and this Death Star gets operational, we're done. Like that's it, right? And it's like that desperation was through the whole movie. It felt it in the whole movie. Even the fighter scene, like where the starfighters go down to the planet.
Oh yeah.
And they just head for the shield, and there's well, some of us are going to make it and some of us aren't, but we have to get down there, and that I'm glad they killed everybody in the end, because that's what it's
it's real.
It's real.
It pulled it into a real universe.
Where you're and then it also doesn't fuck up things later on. Of course, if she's so important, or if Cassian, this agent, is so important, well, why weren't they in the other movies? Well, because they're dead. Yeah. Or and the little callbacks, like Red 5.
Yes.
Getting shot down, and then you're well, that's why Red 5. There is a Red 5, right? And little things like that, and having them go and pull the old footage, the pilot footage. So it was the same pilots from A New Hope. That rated, that's why that movie worked. And that's why that movie worked, because it just pulled you into the story, pulled you into the world, called back what it needed to call back, but didn't fuck anything up. Right? Whereas why would you care about a Death Star if the most desperate people in the world could just take an empty ship filled with bombs and just
ram it in?
And then why would you even build a Death Star with a super laser if you could just ram ships into planets and blow them up?
Right.
All these things. So it's but Rian Johnson didn't care.
Yeah.
He was just this is going to be a cool visual.
Great storytelling again, going back to changing up the subject or changing up the angle. The Joker. They did some really cool, and it's actually tying us still to Star Wars, because Mark Hamill's. They were talking about all the people that have done Joker.
Yeah.
And they talk about Mark Hamill's perception of him with the voiceovers and the animations, and It was so weird because I watched this it's like a mini, like a 10-minute little documentary on Mark Hamill, well, on the Joker, but Mark Hamill was a big part of it because he's done the Joker so many
So many
times,
times, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so and then they ask him like, well, what'd you think when they asked this guy to do it instead of you for this animation and blah blah. And but when you see him behind the
Yeah,
scenes
yeah.
with the microphone,
Yeah,
going,
like what he's doing.
you're just
Yeah.
like, shit, dude, like you actually should have played a Joker in a movie. Like you've got the craziness to like even your look and everything. Like it was really, really good. And that's not an insult to Mark Hamill. It was more of a like that's a great like he has a great depiction of what the Joker is and stuff
Totally.
like that. But even telling the story of the Joker, telling the story of Batman, going to the DC universe and how they completely botched that up too. I would have loved, and this is kind of a neat idea that popped into my head just now as we were talking, was I would love like when they did Gotham, like I think they fucked Gotham.
I think it was really. I loved the idea, and
Yeah.
I was really the first season. I think was really good.
I hated Mooney. Like I like
Fish Mooney.
Fish Mooney was.
Yeah, but even then though, at least like that's why the club's Fish Moonies. Like I mean,
I guess
No?
it was just like because Mooney was a completely made up character. Was never part of the DC universe up
no,
until
but the club was in the comic books, and it was Fish Moonies, and it was Penguin's hideout.
right.
Yeah.
But we
So
never
that was
really
there.
met Fish Mooney.
No, we didn't. That's
Yeah,
true.
and then when they started doing like the superpowers
That's
thing,
what screwed it
like I
up.
was just like, what the fuck are
That
you
fucked
doing?
it up. Like
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 it made it like what I always loved and what made Batman really work back in the day was that all of his people that he fought, all of his villains, they weren't superpowers. None of them.
well, some of them were.
The Penguin wasn't
Well,
superpowered.
he
The
was like-
Joker was just a dude that was
Yeah,
psycho. The Penguin was
yeah.
just a dude that was psycho. Catwoman had no superpowers. She was just a chick that was just, trained like
Cat
him.
burglar.
Right?
Yeah,
a
yeah,
cat
yeah,
burglar. Like,
that's true.
like it was all very like realistic. Like I like the fact
Yeah.
that you could have a Joker today,
Yeah.
which
Yeah,
is scary,
exactly.
but you could have a guy that's just so good at just being elusive,
Yeah.
and he does just crazy shit. You could have a girl that's just a really good cat burglar. You could have a Carmen Sandiego. I call it that because I'm watching Carmen Sandiego with my daughter. But but you could have people like that today, and you could have a guy that dresses up in a bat suit and goes out and
Well,
does this stuff,
yeah.
right?
And he's because I guess he's only like there's a cool infographic that broke down how much it would cost to be Batman, and it wasn't like impossible. It was
Yeah.
like 22 million or something. Like it was like
Well, Mark Zuckerberg, you should be Batman.
oh yeah, just
Brush up on your martial arts, buddy. All right, we're going too far. But anyway, I liked if they had done a really good job with Gotham, and then as that kid grew up, transitioned him into a couple of movies of Batman.
Yeah.
So if you did the Gotham thing for say 9 seasons, you took it from this kid being, but we because you can do that with a kid that young.
Yes.
You can do that for 9 seasons with that kid, 10 seasons. You could bring him up as Batman. So now and you start that series when he's 5 or 6 years old or 10 years old or whatever. Yeah, go
I think it was
scenes.
he was in
10 or whatever when his dad dies.
Yeah.
And you get a really good kid actor and you grow that kid actor through 10 more seasons. So now he's 25
yeah
when he actually becomes Batman. And it's real time.
yeah
Then you come up with
Then
a
it's a movie.
25-year-old
Yeah.
Batman, and then now, all right, the TV series has run its course. Now let's take that same kid, those same characters, or maybe just and if you did it good with the Catwomans and the Penguins and the Jokers, can you imagine if you were a really good storyteller? How much? Well, and those storytellers exist. Superman or Marvel proves it.
yeah
The connectivity
they could make it like crazy.
that you would have and the connection, because you would have actually grown up in real time with these people. Now, circumstances change. Can you imagine that contract? You'd have to have
Yeah.
people that are insanely dedicated to what they're going to do.
Yeah.
But then you pop out 4 or 5 movies and then you kill Batman at the end.
Yeah.
Or
You kill Batman or
You kill Batman, but you don't kill Joker.
yeah.
Or something mind blowing,
Yeah.
right? And if you could do that, it would take 20 years, but damn.
Well, Marvel did it 10, right?
It's
And
true.
and they knew from the get-go that it would, take 10 years, but they didn't,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's exactly. it should be cripplingly crushing when Superman dies.
Yeah.
Or when Batman dies or whatever. Like, it's just, yeah, like it's just, and you can only do that if you know the characters. Like, if you know them and you've like,
or you do
grown
that
up.
whole thing and all of a sudden Batman just snaps. Like, it's it. Like, the mental stress has just gotten to him so bad that he just snaps. And he finally does do something unbelievably horrific.
Yeah.
Where he just, he captures, he goes into Arkham one day and just
Well, it's like when,
nukes everybody.
that's when, that was Injustice.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
The premise for that video game was unreal.
Right.
Like,
but again, like,
you know,
a freaking video game had a better story
Yeah,
than like
I know.
these
Than
guys
idiots.
writing these fucking movies.
I know. I know.
It doesn't make sense. Like, there's just some weird, like movie guys should be going and hunting down those guys, and trying to get them into these films, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I don't know. It's just, yeah. I mean, I hope the Mandalorian, is a sign of that they learned their lesson.
Yes,
and that at least going forward, it'll get what it deserves.
Yeah.
And then that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's my
Good stuff.
my two bits.
I don't even know how long we've been going.
It's been about an hour.
We should probably wrap up. I know my phone's going off like crazy here. I got people like, "Hey, do this. Can you get this done?" Blah blah blah. I'm like, "Holy shit!" Wow.
Life goes on.
Yeah, it's like every time you get into something you're doing, everyone else wants you.
Yeah.
So, all right, good stuff. 4thGen podcast. Thanks for joining us. We are going to post this up here right away and
subscribe.
Yeah, subscribe,
share.
Facebook page will be up. We'll be pushing some of these little clips. We're going to grow this like crazy. So, again, thanks for joining us. We will catch you next week.
See you guys there.
Later.